Hi, girls. I guess you already know, but I'm going to lead the club's activities this week while Wonka's gone. Are we still waiting on MC?
Yes, he stayed a little while after class to get some help. He should be here any second now.
Well, that's very responsible of him.
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's all right. Siri says you were being very responsible in getting academic help. You should be proud of that.
Maybe. I'd be more proud if I didn't need the help so badly in the first place.
Everyone has weaknesses, MC. Wisdom is knowing what they are.
I guess that's true.
Okay, everyone. We should probably get started. Monica's not here today, obviously, so me and Miss Ida will run things.
Monica said usually you'd start with free time or poems. I guess it makes most sense to do poems first.
Usually we actually just get into the mood with free time first.
But it makes sense to do poems first, too. That way we can enjoy the relaxing free time part of Glow once we have it. Alright then, poems first it is. Did you all get my poem prompt for the week? A poem about snow on the pine trees.
Yeah, I got it. It was a much more specific prompt than usual.
It was. I wonder if all our poems will end up being pretty similar.
Probably not. We all have such different styles. But I'm eager to hear what spin we all put on the same theme.
Now who first? Only slightly different. A pine tree is patient. Pile it high with snow. Let the winds blow. It will nestle in and wait. The pine tree is strong. The branches may bow low, weighty with wintry or woe, but it does not die. It does what we all do, even when the snow piles up to its top, so that its crown appears a tiny bush. It hides. It goes in, it closes the door, and locks it behind, so that it will emerge in a few months, only a slightly different pine tree.
Very curious. It seems to me that the theme of bedding down for the winter is only secondary. And the point of the poem is that the pine tree is only slightly different as the title suggests, or would suggest. What is the significance of the pine tree being slightly different, and how is it different?
Well, we have this thing where we can keep the real meanings of our poems secret, and I would like to do that with this.
Oh gosh, I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. I wasn't even really demanding an answer, more just wondering out loud. A rhetorical question, really. The structure feels a little different than normal for Sayori. It's less rigid about its rhyming and syllables. But nevertheless, it is inescapably a Sayori poem. Although I do wonder about what the slightly different business means.
Maybe something about how you can't really escape from anything truly unscathed. Everything you go through leaves a mark on you in some way, no matter how small it is. Something like that, probably.
Probably, yeah. Although knowing Sayori, it's probably also about change more generally. Sometimes her fear is about not enough change, rather than too much. MC looks briefly at Masita. Especially for people who are trying to change. It might be viewed as a worry about how slow and gradual change is, even with big sweeping changes in the environment.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, who wants to go next? Well, since I have the poem that Monica sent me, I guess she can go next.
Miss Ida hands around Monica's poem and kindly handed it to the camera. Lean months.
My friend the pine, I see him each day as I walk along, sporting his fine coterie of cones and needles, like a fashionable coat and earrings. But when the winter comes and the cold doom drums, he sheds his luxuries. For now it is time to survive. No time for beauty, no time for glory, no time for show, no time for pride. There's only fear, there's only hunger. It saves its strength or it will die.
Very ominous. She took it to a very grim place. Maybe her sickness is affecting her mood a little bit.
Maybe, yeah. Monica often writes about kind of dark stuff, but in a way this isn't so dark. It's all about, like, shedding everything that's excess in order to survive. I guess it's sort of a metaphor for people. We have things that we think are so important, but they really mean nothing when it's a matter of life and death. I guess that's a lesson that nature teaches us that Monica wanted us to know.
Rightly said. Nature is an apt analogy for many things in the human world. I actually really like the little bit of wordplay with coat and coterie. Those aren't really related words, but they sound really nice together. And I like the use of the word coterie to describe the needles and cones of a pine. It helps us empathize with it, and it makes its little pine world seem like a family instead of a collection of inanimate objects.
Well, I mean, they're not inanimate, they're plants.
Huh, I hadn't thought of that at all. What does coterie mean exactly?
Like a small group of people who are close, like friends. Clique is a similar word, but it's more friendly than that.
Huh. Do you think Monica did that on purpose?
Monica's poetry is almost all very intentional and calculated. She controls every line of her poetry down to minute details. It's a little scary to me.
Well, I like that wordplay too. It's very clever. And I really like the theme of the poem, like MC said.
Sayori, any thoughts?
No, not on this one. Still thinking about it. I'll just tell Monica about it later if I have any feedback.
All right then, who's next? How about MC?
Sure. Winter party. A single snowflake settles down. Season's first, it nestles gently on a branch in a lonely search. But though there are no others now, soon there will be. Soon so many flakes join in upon this little tree. So in the midst of quiet winter, friends still can meet. The clumping snowflakes, 1,000,000 strong, form a friendly sheet.
It's a very pleasant, happy poem, and it takes the somewhat gloomy topic and turns it into something more joyous. I suspect Sayori will like it a lot.
I guess I did kind of write a little bit of a Sayori poem in that way, didn't I?
Well, no. I'd say you wrote an MC poem, but about a theme that Sayori would probably find pleasing.
I do! It's neat to think of a pile of snow as a bunch of small little buddies having a party. It makes winter seem a little less bleak. I really do like the idea.
I wish they wouldn't party on my car. But it sounds like there's a but.
You're getting too good at reading me. The but is that the structure is still kind of loose. I know I shouldn't talk since my poem had loose structure this week, but I think in a happy, jaunty poem like this, it would have worked better if you had stuck to more formal cadences and a rigid rhyming structure. And I know you know how to do that.
I do. I guess I just got a little lazy here.
Well, MC, normally I would say listen to your girlfriend and do whatever she says. But here I would say, I never think structure things like that are very important. You've just got to write the poem however it sounds good to you. Otherwise, all that structure and rules can become really confining and limit how well you can write something.
But structure and rules can also be channels to bring order to your creativity, yes? They provide a clear direction and can help clear up blockages of ideas. Plus, like with most things, you shouldn't break a creative rule unless you know exactly why that rule exists.
Maybe. But I just always find myself feeling constricted if I don't just write what I want. Have you ever written much, Miss Ida? You make it sound like you have.
A little when I was younger. I used to write short stories a lot when I was in high school myself. And I was known to write a poem from time to time as well. But I haven't had the time for that much since I went to college and became a teacher. Now my life belongs to science. But I still enjoy all things literary. That's why I volunteered to be the advisor for the club.
Didn't she say in an earlier episode that she wasn't that into English or something? Whatever.
That and I know so many of you so well. I think we have 2 more people still to go. Yuri and Natsuki. Who's next? I'll go next. A simple calendar. The wind blows from the sea, carrying up a mighty wash of salt water, cleansed of the salt, distilled on high, into clean white snow and clean white clouds, over mighty mountains, strong and tall. That's where the pine trees live, ancient and vast, with the patience of centuries. They know what is to come. For they have seen the snows 100, 1,000 times. It's their old friend and calendar. As the sun rises for us, so the snow falls for them. And so it seems to us a terrible storm, from which we hide and shelter our windows. To the mighty pine it is a merely turning a page in nature's planner.
Very readable for a Yuri poem. Why, I understood everything that was written about. This is truly a novel experience for me. But seriously, I do like it though.
You like anything that makes humanity feel small and insignificant.
That's just because I like poems about true things, Yuri.
Your general tone and style are very impressive, Yuri. You write with the vocabulary and voice of an old, seasoned artist. No offense, of course. None taken. I aspire to write with maturity. Well, you definitely succeed.
Did you mean it to be comforting at all, Yuri?
Comforting? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, comforting. Like, the storm seems really horrible and awful, and we get really scared and worried over it. But really, it's just a normal thing that happens and the big wide world is used to. And maybe we should be too. Something like that.
Well, I can't say I intended an effect like that when I wrote the poem. But if that's the way it makes you feel, or how you interpret it, I certainly wouldn't say you're wrong. Or I certainly would say you're not wrong.
Good poem, Yuri. As usual, I don't feel like I have the intelligence to fully comprehend or analyze your poems. But this one is more accessible than usual for me. There's a certain ring to what you write sometimes. I'm not sure how to explain it. But like, when you write things like, they know what it is to come, it makes it feel really grand and epic. I'm trying to figure out what about lines like that make it sound so cool.
Well, it uses slightly archaic and formal phrases for one thing. A normal person these days would just say, they know what's going to happen, but that sounds prosaic. Saying what is to come gives it more mystery and grandeur. And of course, using indirect pronouns helps too. Saying they instead of the trees adds the mystique and makes it simple but profound sounding. And that's really my secret, making it sound profound, even if it isn't.
Well, I think it is profound. I just was curious how you made it sound good in the process.
Thanks, MC.
I guess that leaves me. I will cut you. I will cut you. Don't you dare to come here, pecking at my tree's wood, eating my tree's nuts. I will jab you good. Poking things is all I do in life, you see. I am a guardian, and my friend here, she's under my protection. But I'm not always so mean. Everyone's gotta take a break sometimes. So I wait for my blanket to fall and go to sleep while everyone takes a rest, and I dream needling dreams. But when I wake up, I will cut you. That's a heck of a title you have there. Yeah, I needed to get a point across. I wanted to make a poem about kind of a small part of a pine tree. And I went with a single needle. And I thought, what would it be like to be a needle? Your whole existence is built around protecting the tree by being a stabby thing. You'd probably be kind of weird about it. And I thought that was a wacky and fun idea for a poem, so I went with it. Cool. Well, it ended up real good. The title is silly, but it's for a good reason. Also, I don't know how a needle could cut, wouldn't it, Pierce?
I'm getting the sense that your poems are superficially the most light-hearted here, Natsuki. But they usually conceal a more serious purpose, or a more significant point. Pun intended. You are correct. That is an apt summary of her style, or for her style. Although often the poems are not wrapped in the sweet exterior. Often only the style itself provides the lightness you mentioned. Other than that, her poems are very cynical and caustic. Certainly they have little kind to say about human beings. But we get glimpses here and there that Natsuki yet has some hope for the rest of us.
I still think she's a lot more positive underneath than she lets on, even with her poetry. Even this poem is about protecting a friend. So in a way, it's about a positive relationship. Her poems kind of do a double switch sometimes. The style is all friendly, but it has that cynical bit, or bite. But then, if you think about it enough, it has that hidden tiny silver lining of positivity. Like, you guys remember Amy Likes Spiders? Same thing. Very playful, kitty kind of style. Has terrible things to say about the narrator. But if you think about it, Amy's not that bad a person, and Natsuki obviously thinks highly of some people. Even if Amy is a stand-in for her or someone else.
Clever boy. Yeah, I guess that's true. Even I hadn't thought of that, but you're totally right. Huh.
Well, that's all the poems, so for the rest of the time, until Sayori tells us it's time to go, let's just do whatever literary things we want to do, alright?
Free time, yes.
MC, Sayori, and Natsuki are all reading manga together by Natsuki's closet. Yuri is reading a book alone at her usual desk. Misita seems to be grading papers while keeping a watchful eye on the club. Who to visit? Well, jeez. She's only got 3/4 of them, I guess. The three students are all reading Natsuki's tennis manga. Everything alright, Sayori?
Yeah. It's just, they're here. They're here? Who's here? Oh, hi, Hallie.
Who's here?
Oh, we were talking about you.
Why? Something you don't want me to know?
Oh, just that sometimes we read manga during literature club. Or in my case, most times.
Oh, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. Manga does count as literature, I would say.
Indistinct grumbling and muttering is audible from the other side of the room.
What's with her?
She, doesn't agree that manga should be considered literature. It's an old debate.
I see. You guys think it's literature and Yuri doesn't.
Well, it's more like some of us don't care if manga is literature. Like me and MC.
And Monica.
And Monica, yes. But Natsuki feels very strongly that manga is literature. And Yuri feels very strongly that it is not. And you know, that's okay. She's a bright girl, but everyone makes mistakes and no one's perfect, are they? We can tolerate even very serious flaws for the sake of good friends, right?
We sure can. Well, I think at least I understand the club's dynamic a little better. You guys are really close friends, aren't you?
Yeah, we are.
Natsuki letting her guard down and being sweet. Very, very close friends.
Well, I wouldn't take it that far. We have a good crew going here. We get along pretty well. We're cool with each other.
I see. Well, I've bothered you enough. I'll let you guys get back to your literature. It's not literature.
Yuri has 2 books open in front of her. She reads in a pattern. First she reads a passage from one, and then she consults the other.
This alphabetic system is hard. What are you reading there, Yuri? War and Peace. It's hard. I should think so. That book has thousands of pages, right? It does. And, is that the original Russian you're reading it in? It is. May I ask why? Well, sometimes when I'm reading a foreign text, I get the feeling that a particular phrase isn't being colloquially translated quite right. So I find that struggling through the original version can be very rewarding. It gets you closer to the version that the author had in mind, I think. Although it's extremely difficult and slow when you don't speak the language, of course. You take reading very seriously, don't you, Yuri? Yes, ma'am. It's hard and a little personal to describe why. But I love the little worlds contained in books. They're fascinating. And I love spending time understanding them as best I can. It's a little bit of a solitary pursuit, isn't it? Even here in the club with your friends, you're off to one side. Don't you get lonely or want to share what you find with others? Not really. I generally feel more comfortable on my own. I do like being here with my friends. And sometimes I do like to spend time socializing with them. But part of the reason they're my friends is that they understand me well. They understand that this club is a zone where I can be myself. And read on my own and devote myself to these books. It's something no one else at this school really has. They all expect me to be sociable. And when I'm not, they mock and exile me. But that doesn't really bother me too much. I'm just glad I found a group of people, however small, that does understand me. In a place, however insignificant, where I feel like I belong. Does that make sense to you? Yes, I suppose it does. You might not expect it, but I can empathize a little. I wasn't the most sociable person myself in high school. Or even now, still. Because you're dedicated to your work. I suppose that's part of it. But enough about me. I'll leave you in peace. Wait, Miss Ida, before you go, I have a question. Sure, Yuri, what is it? Why is Kento not back today? I thought he was trying to get extra credit by attending the club. He did. He actually finished his required essays a couple weeks ago and turned them in. Oh, did he do well on them? You'd have to ask Mr. Williams. But as I understand it, yes, he did. Ah. Pity he didn't want to stay here in the club afterwards. He would really have wanted, or would you really have wanted him to? It would be getting pretty crowded in the club with that many people. Yes, it would have. Too many changes at once can really throw off a good, valuable group dynamic. I understand, Yuri. Enjoy your reading. Thank you, Miss Ida. I will.
Okay, everyone. I think that's just about all the time we have for today, so we'll call it here. I guess it's up to me to figure out a poem topic for next week. So, what's a good poem topic? Wait, I got it! One of my favorite topics! Food!
Sounds like a plan. Do you guys want to make any other plans for next time, or just play it by ear?
Well, we should probably talk to Monica first. She's a part of the club too. And someone will have to tell her what the poem topic is, which sounds like a vice president duty.
Good leadership is about delegation, though.
It sounds like you all have things well in hand in any event. Have safe trips home, and I will see you guys next week, all right?
Miss Ida heads out and can be heard walking down the hall. The club waits a few moments until her footsteps fade.